Yeah, sorry about the class on Thursday. We're still having problems. In fact, today we're not broadcasting um, because the servers were taken away unexpectedly, so we are trying to scramble to see how to do that. Hopefully by next week. And actually, next week I need to talk. We may not even have a class next week for Aim for Seva. So I'll let you know, but sorry about all these changes and so on, but I think we'll get there. Let's say a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this analogy of the electricity and the appliance that we talked about last week is really an important one, and one that should be kept in mind as we look upon our lives, how to conduct our lives. It has great potential, really. So we'll come back to it again and again in doing so. So what we saw was that there's a very basic difference between the electricity and the appliance. Very basic difference, that electricity is not a product of the appliance. It is an independent entity. It is not limited by the appliance, and it will continue to exist even after the appliance stops working. And number 5, which at this point is not that important, but after surviving the appliance, it is not as though you will say, where is it? Because it is already there but not recognizable, because there's no way of expressing it, that's all. But it is very much there. Anyway, we'll talk about later on. So one very interesting aspect of this is the following. If you look at, let's say, electricity flowing through an electric bulb, which is lighting up. If we look at that analogy, what you will find is that there is no real connection between the light and the electricity. Okay? So the electricity is not directly connected through the light, or the darkness for that matter. So what is connected to the light and darkness is the appliance. This is an important thing to see. So the appliance may be on the same level as light and darkness. That is a completely different thing altogether. But the electricity has nothing to do with light or darkness. Keep this in mind. This is an important thing to see as we analyze our own lives. Okay? So what it means is that the electricity is at a different level than the expression of what the appliance is doing. And the same thing can be happening in terms of air conditioning or heater or any of the things that the appliance does. So the electricity has nothing to do with it. It has something to do with it, but it is not directly responsible for the light or the heat or something like that. It is, of course, the essential ingredient. So keep this in mind as we move forward, because now we need to see how it applies to our lives. And in fact, keep this fact in mind as we begin to analyze the message of the Bhagavad Gita, the talk, the decisions of the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna and so on. Keep this in mind. The analogy of the electricity in the appliance is a very important one, I think, in my view. Several different can be done, but this is one very important thing. So now let's look at this. We have already done that. What we need to do is to replace the appliance with my experiences, life's experiences are all part of the anatma. And it is all part of the appliance. So the anatma means the not I. Anything which is not I is anatma. And anything which is not I is the appliance. And this will become clearer as we go forward. And the Atma is like the electricity. Atma means me, I. Atma is not some strange, it has a Sanskrit word for it, but it means I. My reality, who am I? It is the exact parallel to an electricity in this model. Okay? Now we look at, let's proceed forward and see the analogy of a dream in our life. This is all my stuff that I had done last week. I didn't have to create anything new. By the way, I have to tell you this. I need to leave early today. There is a person that I know who had passed away, and their funeral starts at 12 o'clock in Skylawn Cemetery, which is about an hour away. And I'm the main speaker there. So I need to leave here promptly at 11, probably even 5 minutes to it. I apologize, it'll be a short, but that just came up in the last couple of days, so I have to do that. So the analogy of a dream is an important one. So here's what happens. In a dream, there are two segments, two elements to a dream. We analyze your dream. One element, one segment is the dreamer, you the dreamer. And the other one is the dreamt aspect of the dream. And this is true for all of us. So what will happen is that anytime you dream, you take up an identity. You assume an identity, and you are now a dreamer. And you are surrounded by your experiences in the dream experiences. And you go through with all of that, and then the dream ends. Okay? So this is the situation. And in the dream, you have an alternate reality. An alternate reality means that a reality which is different from your reality when you wake up. Okay? So if you remember a few weeks ago, we had said that we actually have two eyes, a higher eye and a lower eye. You remember that? So there are two eyes that we have, a higher eye and a lower eye. In reality, they are not two separate eyes, but it depends on the identity of the eye. So in this example now becomes clearer what we are talking about with respect to higher eye and a lower eye. Here, the dreamer is a lower eye and a waker is the higher eye. It's the same eye, but the identity of the lower versus higher are different from each other. Okay? So actually, what this means is, the eye always remains the same, but your projection, your mind, your expression has two separate parts to it. One is the mind's projection of a dreamer eye, and one is the mind's projection of the waker eye. So this is what we mean by the reconciliation of the higher eye and the lower eye. Eye remains the same. You cannot have a truth which has duality. If I'm just giving you a quick example, that suppose you are looking at a carpet which is solid, and the next moment it becomes liquidy, and the next moment it becomes gaseous. You don't know what it is. It has to be consistently the same for you to say, yes, this is a carpet. And so similarly, an eye has to be consistently the same for you to see reality. Who am I? But what happens is that the projections can be different. One time you're looking at yourself very clearly in the mirror, in the other case you're not looking at clearly in the mirror, some other kind of a muddy reflection. That's possible. So similarly, going back to the analogy of the dream, so the dream character is the lower eye, and the waker is at a higher level. So there is actually a subject-object realistic projection in the dream, isn't it? In the dream, there is a subject-object relationship, a subject-object difference. But in terms of the higher eye, both of them are falsified. Both of them are falsified. So now we can close the loop on the electricity not being connected to the light. Right? So this is what the statement we made was, that the electricity is not connected to the light. The appliance is connected to the light, or the absence thereof, but not the electricity. In this analysis, in this analogy, the waker is not connected to the dream character, the dream, the dreamt world. But the dreamer is connected to the dreamt world. They're on the same level, you see. But the waker is at a higher level than either the dreamer or the dreamt character. So in this analogy, the waker is the electricity, and the dream is the appliance. You see, the dream is the appliance, and the waker is the electricity. In fact, what we will see later more clearly, that there is even a higher level than the waker. In this example, the waker is the electricity, but in our life's example, even the waker is an appliance. The Atma is the electricity. You see? And so all anatma is not I, which is a appliance, and I, the Atma, is the electricity. So I am effulgent, I am infinite, I am all-pervasive, I am timeless, I am independent, I am beginningless, I am endless, and the very nature of joy. So the electricity doesn't bother whether things break or don't break, they work or not break, or don't break, not work. Doesn't matter. It is independent. And so similarly is the Atma. So here, now we can say that in this analogy, we can now go back to Krishna's teaching to the Arjuna. This is the basis of the teaching of Arjuna, of Sri Krishna. Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you are the electricity. Don't you see? You see, this is the thing. So the makeup of the context of Bhagavad Gita, the makeup of the Bhagavad Gita is where Arjuna is literally having a nightmare. Nightmare in the sense that he is supposed to be functioning as a human being, and he is a very capable guy, he's a leader of things and all of that, but he's having a nervous breakdown. For some other reasons which we will come to that hopefully even today or not in the next time. He's having a nervous breakdown and he's not able to function. Like, these days you hear so much about depression. And so the depression is where the person is not able to just function as a normal person. Your thoughts are really just haywire. And so Arjuna is just like that. He's having a nervous breakdown. He is devastated. He's not able to function. He's put his things, all the arrows and quivers and so on and so forth, guns or whatever it is down. He says, I'm not fighting. And it is all because of the fact that he is having a nightmare. He is like a dreamer that is having a nightmare. And I remember Swami Dayanandji pointing this out, that Krishna's attitude towards was like that of a mother For those of you that have children, you would probably know this by now, that sometimes children, when they have fever, they have more nightmares. So they are blabbering and so on. And sometimes the mother is, and the mother has, in Sanskritam, this is called prasanna gambhiryam. Prasanna gambhiryam means it's a pleasant, serious expression. Prasanna means very pleasant, gambhiryam means very serious. So the mother has, when the child is blabbering away and having a nightmare, the mother has a pleasant, serious expression on her face. Why pleasant? Because she knows it is just a nightmare. As soon as the child wakes up, it will be okay. Why serious? She doesn't want the child to have a nightmare. So similarly, the attitude of Krishna towards Arjuna was prasanna gambhiryam. When Krishna was going all kind this, that, or the other, he just admonished him, as I told you a couple of weeks ago. Hey, stop it. You're just blabbering like a fool. But inside he was smiling, because he knew that as soon as he finds out, he's clarified about who he is. He's not a dreamer. He is someone, he's the electricity, not the appliance. So, as an appliance, Krishna and Arjuna is saying, I don't want to kill people, and what will happen to them, and this is not good, and if I don't kill them, he's all talking about killing and fighting and the consequences of it and all of that. And Krishna is saying, what are you talking about? You're talking about the appliance, which says that the appliance is going to go haywire, it's going to go like this, and so on and so forth. Nothing is going to happen to electricity. Don't you see? Obviously you don't see it. But you should see it. It's all a question, Mr. Arjuna, all a question of your identity. Your identity is like that of an appliance, when in fact your identity should be that of electricity. So for example, in this we can concoct an example that suppose the electricity had consciousness, had awareness, and the electricity mistakenly thinks that I am an appliance. And consequently, because of that, he suffers through all kinds of anxieties, of the fact that he's vulnerable, it can be breaking, it's not functioning well, all kinds of things and so on. When in fact it is, yes, you are the electricity in the appliance, but you have nothing to do with the appliance. Don't you see that? You are separate from it. Exactly like the same issue with having waves in an ocean, where the wave is saying, I am very worried, I'm going to die pretty soon. And even while I'm living, the other waves are bothering me. And so this guru wave comes along and says, what are you talking about? You're not a wave, you're the water. And it takes a long time when this is now easy for you to say that. I don't understand what water you're talking about. And this is an important thing to see, because what causes a person not to see that I am the electricity, that I am the water? What is it that causes it? We'll go into that in a little bit. But anyway, that's the fact, the overall facts about how this is. So really the teaching of the Gita, very simplified, the entire 700 verses of it, really, in different forms. The rest of it is just a dialogue. But the key thing is, Arjuna, please see, you are not the appliance, you are the electricity. That's it. This is what in our life also. Right now, our feeling is, I am an appliance. I am moving around, I'm buffeted by all my experiences, and I don't understand what you're talking about, Atma, and all this is all theoretical stuff. And I don't understand, I don't get it. And all I'm getting is, what are my experiences, how do I make my life more pleasant? And so the answer is, listen, you can keep doing whatever you want to. I'm not suggesting you stop it and so on. But you're not going to solve the issue of your life by continuously improving yourself as an appliance. Because you're not an appliance. You are the very basic electricity. You think you are the appliance, but you're not. This is the final issue. Praptasya praptihi. You already have freedom, but you don't realize it. And this is done through viveka, as we have seen before. Viveka is the important thing. The jnanam, the knowledge, is an inquiry into the nature of this. So viveka here is the Atma Anatma Viveka. It is also you can also see this as a waker, dreamer, Viveka. Just in the morning class, which we are studying Mandukya Upanishad, which is a very advanced Upanishad and very cryptic, has very condensed thoughts and so on. So it has to be explained a lot. And so there is a lot of commentaries that are necessary, a lot of logic that is necessary. So in there, what was pointed out was that you can be, all of us have had many dreams, many dreams. Every night, I'm told that one has multiple dreams every night. And so we must, in our lives, we must have 1,000 lives. And we basically don't think much of it. If we are bothered by some kind of a particular thing, then we dream about it. Otherwise, we forget about it, and then that's the end of it. In the Vedantic methodology, an analysis of a dream is very important. In fact, the dreams are specifically created by Ishvara, God, for us to study and learn from. Very important. This is something that we have to really apply our minds to it and analyze it. And that is what is viveka. You see, that's the thing. In fact, there is a word, we were just talking about that in the earlier class. There is a word in Hinduism called Muni. He's a Muni. So what Muni means? Muni means Mananashila, the one who thinks, one who analyzes, one who stops and follows instructions as to what is important, what is not important. And so for most of us, we don't think dreams are very important. Why should I bother much about it? What I'm more interested in is my life. Nothing about dream. What has that got to do with it? Most of the people like that, including science and psychologists and Freud and all of those people, nothing. In the case of Vedanta, it is just the opposite. You won't believe what Vedanta is advice to us is, Vedanta's advice is, the analysis of a dream is more important than the analysis of your waking experience. And this seems like a preposterous statement. How can that be? I'm worried about my jobs, my relationships, my children, and so on. You're talking about dreams. What has that got to do with it? And what Vedanta says is, excuse me, that doing the viveka between a dreamer and a waker is extremely rewarding. You better do it. And if you don't know how to do it, follow my advice. And this is the advice. This is the advice. That you have appliance and electricity and how the two, this is exactly what you have to do. So in this analysis, the dream is an appliance. And the dream appliance is not possible without electricity. But electricity has nothing to do with it. Consciousness has nothing to do with our experiences. It simply makes it possible. So in that analysis, you find that in the case of at a higher level, both of them are meaningless. Both of them are meaningless. But there comes an important lesson here if we proceed further. In my present life, I am a waker. Now you can replace this diagram. Replace this diagram. Instead of dream, write down waking. This is a nice diagram. I don't want to change this, so I don't want to put this because I may use it again actually. But you can do that. Just put, you can have an alternate. Instead of dream, just say the waking experience. And instead of the dreamer, you can say me. And I'm going to distinguish between me and I. So the me is my body-mind complex, my sense organs, all of the functioning appliance, this is me. So instead of me, same thing happened? It loses,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah, it says it can't find the Mevo.
Okay.
And it has a little finger pointing to the...
Oh, really?
That's what happened last week, and I think we patched them together. They were two segments. And still can't find it?
Yeah, it takes a few seconds.
Okay. Okay, so in this diagram, replace the dream with waking. The dreamer with me means the, remember we had used two words for it, jiva or ahankara. Functioning human being, everything about it. And then in the dream world, replace it by the world around that I experience. Right? This is exactly what is happening. That at this point in time, I am very concerned with who I am as a human being. Where am I going? How do I make peace with the world? So this is the interaction between the dreamer and the and the outside world. And the outside world continues to surprise me, disappoint me. New things come up. All of a sudden, and so on and so forth. All of that is happening. And sometimes it is pleasant, sometimes it is unpleasant. Exactly like a dream. And the only difference is, and this is an important difference we will see, so if I can just branch into a new area, the only difference is that the experiences of life, the outside experiences of life, are part of a larger canvas that I am not aware of. Larger canvas means it has laws governing whatever is happening to me at a much higher level, which is not a surprise to the Creator. This is exactly the way it should be. There's no surprises anywhere. Even accidents are all supposed to happen. And also, it's a kind of like a continuity. It's not as though your life just began when you were taking birth and it's going to end when you are dead. Nothing like that. It's a continuity of expressions. It's exactly like, your days are interrupted by nights. And the life is a continuity from one day to another, even though there are gaps in between. Similarly here also, the whole life, there are gaps between one life and the other, but it's a continuity. And the continuity means, so this is, I don't know if I wrote it down, but let me, no, I didn't write it down, so I think I will start this somewhere. Let me see. Okay, so let me add something to this. So now what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about the nature of anatma. The nature of anatma. So we'll talk about the nature of atma some other time, but at this time let's just briefly talk about the nature of the anatma. And remember that in the anatma, both the experiences that you designate as outside of me and the nature of yourself as a body-mind complex are included. You see that? So we go back to our diagram. So both the dreamer and the dream world are on a different level. They are false, they are a higher level, and they are at a lower level. Similarly, if you replace it, not only are your outside experiences, but even your own jivatvam, your own personality and so on, is also part of anatma. So actually this is the thing. At this point, we are drawing the line wrongly. We think that me means my body-mind complex, and everything else is outside of me. In fact, even my body-mind complex is outside of me. This is what we have to see. This is what we have to see. And so, going back to what I was just going to sketch out, if you look at the nature of the anatma, and the anatma, I will just specify it again, has two portions of it. The experience world and the second one is the experiencer me. Both of them are anatma. Both of them are an appliance. So let's look at the nature of the anatma. We've already talked about that it is a continuum. Probably a good way to depict it is, it is not a straight line. It is in fact a circle. Let me use my red pen. So just look at it this way. The way we look upon our lives is it's a straight line, isn't it? Because it had a beginning and an end. When in fact it's a circle, because you keep on taking life after, and so the circle of course consists of small lines. So this could be one life, then another life, and so on. In between, so this is death. Death number 1, death number 2, and so on. But you keep on moving back and forth. There's no, you can't get out. As long as you are in the dream, you are just continuously moving. Okay? So this is a continuum. This is number 1. Another thing to look at is, it is I think I want to go to a little bit less unpredictable. Unpredictable, uncontrollable. Controllable. Cannot be definitively analyzed. Definitively. And I'll put a Sanskrit word for it, which is very famous in what we say. Just say anirvachaniya. No, sorry. Anirvachaniya. So the word vachaniya means precisely defined. It's called vachaniya. Anirvachaniya means cannot be precisely defined. It's not as though we don't know, but we know that it cannot be precisely defined. And so here, for example, the gold ornaments can be used as anirvachaniyam. So you can say, what is the truth about the existence of an ornament? So you say, well, it's kind of there, kind of not there. So you say, what? That means you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know, be very precise. Everything has to be done very, very precisely. What is the nature of the ornament? So you say, we cannot define it. We cannot say it is there, not there. For example, it is there. Appearance is there. But you go to look for it as an independent existence, it doesn't exist because it is nothing but gold itself. It has a beginning and it has an end, but it has no enduring presence independently of itself. This is what we mean. And so now we can apply this to all of anatma. The nature of anatma, all of it is like an ornament. And we will see this later. I am the gold. Atma is the gold, and anatma is the ornament. Exactly like saying the electricity and the appliance. There are different ways of depicting it. Atma is the gold. Anatma is the ornament. And it is neither different from me, nor it is the same as me. Is an ornament exactly the same as gold? No, there is something different. You cannot wear a lump of gold on your finger. It has to be made into some kind of a ring. But you start looking for ring as a separate entity, separate from gold? No. The weight of the ring is the weight of the gold. The look of the ring is the look of the gold. The feel of the ring is the feel of the gold. Everything is borrowed from the gold. It just has some namarupa, some name and form. Cannot be precisely defined. So also my whole experience world is like that. It is unpredictable. It is unpredictable because I don't know everything about what's happening. Why is it happening? Because of the continuum. Obviously, we can define it up to a short span. We can say the reason we are here is because we drove in a car to Milpitas. We came up the stairs. This is how we are. But why are you here? Because I'm here as a person. Why are you here as a person? Because I was born. Why were you born? Forget it. I have no idea. And in fact, it is a continuum which is going on. And I try to make a sense of it. I try to analyze it. So my whole attitude is that I'm going to figure out exactly how to be a very happy person in this life. If I just manage a few things, my health, my relationships, my possessions, and so on and so forth, I think I'll be okay. You're not going to be okay. This is a nebulous. I think another thing we can add is nebulous. Nebulous means not precise. So this is the nature of the anatma. This is the nature of the anatma. And so if it looks very depressing, uncontrollable, this, that, or the other, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't need to be controlled. It doesn't need to be predicted. You are in trouble only if this is just like saying, I'm a wave of the ocean and I want the whole ocean to be quiet before I realize I am the water. Be quiet. Don't move. I want reality. It keeps moving and it keeps threatening me. There's so much movement. I cannot deal with this. So they'll say, please, please, please. Whether there is movement or not, there is no movement. The water doesn't move. It has some intrinsic and some incidental qualities. Forget about the incidental. Just look at the intrinsic. And so the nature of the anatma, which we will come back to again, I'm just giving you some different aspects of it, is one thing that we would do. Now I'm going to have to wind up because only 5 minutes left and I need to leave. So I will just say one thing, that if you notice that we have taken more time to discuss some of the fundamental concepts before we go to chapter 7. And so I think I've mentioned this to you before. I had not realized that so many new people will come up, and I need to make sure that they are with me as far as the conceptual aspects is concerned. So it's very possible we'll have to modify something. Either we will not even do chapter 7, or do a shortened version of it, or lengthen the course.
Yeah.
One or the other will have to happen, but I want to make sure that we go into some of the core concepts on which the edifice of the knowledge will be built. So I've changed a little bit, but it is not because I'm capricious. I'm looking for the right thing to do, and I hope you understand. So with that, let me say a prayer, and then I will write to you. Most probably we will not have a class next week because of the Aim for Seva, a big event going on. Everybody is very involved with it. Sushma is very involved, and a lot of others also, Chandra. And so I think that we will, if you forgive me, one more class we'll have to miss, and then we will come back 2 weeks from again, with hopefully everything all straightened out. Okay, so with that, let me close. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Sorry again, no time for questions.